Good evening, Point of Grace Church family. I'm Mark Lindgren. I'm one of the pastors here. Thank you for joining us for our short State of the Church video. Now, it's a unique time in our world, definitely a unique time for us as a church. We've been online for about 2 months now, and I know that you're probably wondering where we are headed with all this talk of reopening. So tonight we've got some updates for you. We'll get things started with Pastor Shepard, and he's going to talk about our weekly gathering, and he's going to talk about our Neighbors Without Shelter. Ryan Fields is going to give us a financial update, and then I will give us an update on our children's ministry. So if you're tuning in for our premiere, you can ask us questions in the chat or in the comments. So we're online with you right now, ready and willing to answer your questions. And if you've tuned in after the premiere, or if you just think of some questions after we're done tonight, we can respond to your questions by email. So just send those questions to pointofgracesomd@gmail.com. So let's get started tonight with a word from Pastor Shepard.
Glad you joined us. Tonight's going to be a night really of information sharing, some of the plans for the church, church growth, some of our expectations and what God is doing in the life of this church here called Point of Grace. Let's talk about our gathering first, then I'll talk about our ministry, remember our homeless ministry, our Neighbors Without Shelter. Then we'll run into, I want to discuss Mark's role as pastor with us, some potentially exciting news. And then finally I'll turn it over to Ryan as he talks about where we are in our giving, some of our special offerings, and then our future here at Point of Grace. So first, regarding gathering, getting back together, I know a lot of you are excited about that day coming where we can gather as a church. But let me give you some updates about Park Hall first. The elementary school, we won't be able to get in there during the summer. The user groups outside of the school won't be inside. But I did talk to the principal today. He said he does miss us. And the air conditioning project that they have there is ahead of schedule based on no students in the school. So it won't be because of the air conditioning project. It's just about the whole experience of being inside of the school and during this COVID time. So what I'm thinking about and talking with some of the leadership is possibly gathering again beginning around the 1st of July timeframe. That could be a Sunday morning, but one of the other ideas we discussed is embarking in another place or meeting in another place. It might have to be a Saturday evening. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about, not talk to you about, but hear from you about. Let us know what you think about that, about maybe a 6:30 p.m. time on a Sunday evening, gathering together as the Point of Grace Church in another church facility in the nearby area. So gathering now, let's talk about ministry. You know, we prayed, and what a special night that was back in January about our evening of prayer for our Neighbors Without Shelter. I'll never forget that night, a great night of blessing, of togetherness, and about ministry. Well, you know, time's gone by, but yet I've been involved with an encampment in Lexington Park, and so some more things have come to my mind. And what's even more exciting about that, 3 or 4 men have stepped up and want to be part of leadership roles with that ministry, not just being a part of the ministry, but the area of leadership and growth. So I wanted to let you know that we're still examining that, talking about our potential there. And so I'd like to hear from some of you what a potential role you might want to have with our Neighbors Without Shelter. So it's an exciting time for the church and for the community. And that leads me into Mark's role, because as his ministry expands, the pastor is delving into other ministries. There's a lot of things we still can be doing for our community right there at Park Hall Elementary, with the gospel, with meeting needs, with our kids' worship, with our families. And we know Mark's doing an excellent job right now, but there's more potentially for him to do. So we're in discussion about that, about the possibility he'll come in more of a full-time role with Point of Grace Church. And what that will mean to us, besides reaping the benefit of all that too, we'll have to examine ourselves about our level of giving. We really will, because we want to bring him on, but we also want to support him in a strong, strong type of way. So think about that and pray about that too. And with that being said, I'm going to now turn it over to Ryan. He's going to come and he's going to talk to us about where we are financially, some of our special offerings, and then what that all means about bringing Mark on. Because we want to be a church that's known for planned and consistent giving, generous giving, and a church that gives cheerfully. It's good to be with you tonight.
Good evening. Just wanted to give you an update on finances, as Arthur mentioned, for the church. Going to touch on a few different things tonight, the first being online giving, followed by the COVID-19 relief fund and status of that, as well as the overall status of the finances of the church. And finally, speaking to what Arthur mentioned at the end with what it would mean financially if Mark were to transition to more of a full-time status. So first, with online giving, several of you have been using it, and I haven't heard any issues or questions associated with that so far. So my assumption, unless I hear from you otherwise, is that that's going okay. But I did want to mention to you, if you had any questions, please send an email or contact me directly. We set up an email, pointofgracesomd.giving@gmail.com, where if you have any issues, please let us know. One other note with that is if you're giving online and you've provided your email address, your annual statements from now on will come via email rather than mailing in the past. Now, if you're giving both online and traditionally the way we've given, then you will still receive that via the email you provide, although it will encompass both. You will receive one statement that covers your online and traditional givings. For those who are still giving traditionally, you will still receive your statement via mail unless you want to receive it by email. And again, send me an email to that pointofgracesomd.giving address, and I'll go ahead and send that to you electronically in the future. Now, in regards to the COVID-19 relief fund that you've seen mentioned over the past several weeks, the balance of that we currently have is about $1,540. So we appreciate your generosity and your participation in that. And on the website, you may recall that there's 4 different organizations that giving will be distributed to. Convoy of Hope, MAP International, Preemptive Love Coalition, and Samaritan's Purse. And if you'd like more information on those, please go to the church website under the giving page, and you can go to links for those organizations. Now, we're going to end that fund or close that fund on Sunday the 31st, so after that, in order to be able to go ahead and disperse these funds to get them out there for COVID-19 relief efforts that you gave them for. So what we'll do is, again, we'll close the fund after Sunday, May 31st, and then we'll go ahead and disperse those funds this following week, the week of June 1st. In regards to the overall financial situation of the church, you may be wondering from the COVID-19 related closures how that's impacting our church finances. And so you'll see here several different general fund balances throughout the year. From January 1st, when the year began, which is the start of our budget year, to what it was mid-March when the closure started. Also, the current balance as of this past Sunday, the 24th. And then you'll see a June 1st projected. And really the projected is accounting for expenses that occur at the end of each month, mainly at this time, payroll expenses. So for comparison purposes, what you really want to look at is January 1st to June 1st, and you'll see that our general fund balance has actually increased by about $2,000. So I wanted to assure you that during this time, the church financial situation is still good, is still strong. People have still been giving via online and mailing in their giving. So I just wanted to update you on that. Now finally, Pastor Shepard, he mentioned the potential of Mark transitioning to full-time at some point in the future. So I wanted to speak just a moment to that to get you thinking about how that affects our finances and what that would mean for us. So no numbers have really been discussed. Nothing has been set in stone. But for purposes of discussion tonight, if we hypothetically assume maybe a $20,000 increase in Mark's salary, then what that would mean is our budget right now for 2020 is about $90,000. So the budget would increase to about $110,000, which would mean $400 difference per week. Now, having said that, our giving may still need to increase more than $400 a week because the current check we're on doesn't necessarily meet the full budget requirements. So for example, last year our budget was about $85,000 and our giving was $76,000. Also, our expenses don't always use the full amount of our budget, so we factor that in. But from my perspective, really to support something like that $20,000 increase, our giving as a church as a whole needs to increase by $500 to $600 to support that. Now, to assure you on this as well, we just talked about our general fund balance that was approximately $60,000. So it's understood that giving is not going to change in that amount overnight. So the thought would be is that the general fund balance we have can be used to fill some gaps as we transition into that, if that's where we go as a church. So I just wanted to give that to you for thinking and knowing what it means from us from a financial perspective. Lastly, I did want to mention, and sometimes I forget to make sure you're aware that if you have questions, feel free to reach out. We have periodic finance reports that are put out. We used to put those on the side welcome table to pick up. But if you'd like to receive those, then send an email or contact me directly again, and I'll get a distribution started for that to send those out electronically on a periodic basis. Or if you have questions, always feel free to reach out or to the pastors, and we can get answers to those questions. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Hello again, Mark Lindgren here. I'm one of the pastors. So I work with our children's ministry. I assist in a lot of the other ministries in our church, and I've been filming and producing these services online. So our children's ministry in this time has been Kids Worship Online. So you'll find 10 lessons up on the KWO website. Kids Worship Online combines the extraordinary stories written in the Jesus Storybook Bible with engaging video teaching and with songs from Summit Kids. And I want to encourage our families to take advantage of that resource. And if you've got the Jesus Storybook Bible at home, read those stories with your family. One other thing that you can pick up is the ICB Bible, the International Children's Bible. So this is a simple yet faithful translation of the Bible written for kids. Now, I'm surprised at how much that I enjoy reading it. So that's one thing that I think every parent should have, the ICB Bible. Now, I'll keep developing Kids Worship Online lessons, and I'll keep producing our weekly gatherings, as you've seen, as we prepare for that July reopening timeline. And when we do reopen, we hope to be able to continue to post a high-quality service online so you can make the best decision for you and your family about which one of those to attend. Well, that's all that we have for tonight. I want to thank you for joining us again. We're going to put up some slides for a couple of minutes, and we'll be available to answer any questions that you may have. Now, may God guide us all by His Spirit and for His glory in these times. And we'll see you online again this weekend. Take care.